Hey everyone, welcome back. Do you have a washer like this that you need to replace the control board on? Well, in this video I'm going to be showing you how. So first things first, you're going to want to unplug the washer or flip the breaker. In this case I flipped the breaker because unplugging it was not the easiest option. Next you're going to go ahead and take out the soap dispenser tray. I like to just put it in the drum, but you could put it in the sink too, as it often drips since there's water in there. Then you're going to have about 5 screws you got to take out. Once those are out, then you'll actually be able to tilt the user interface and pull it forwards, exposing these 3 screws. They're all Phillips, so all you need right now, and I believe for this entire repair you're only going to need a Phillips bit. Then you take the lid, you slide it forwards, and then pop it up. Yes, you can see the customer's legs there. She's a handy woman. We're in the country, and she likes to see things how they work because she likes to fix things. This specific machine was actually still under warranty. I know, right? They don't build them like they used to, for real. As you saw, I went ahead and inspected the control board, the new one. I wanted to make sure it was exactly the right part we needed, all the same connectors and everything like that. It's a good habit and a best practice to do that because there's nothing worse than tearing a machine completely apart and then realizing you don't even have the right part. You know, either you ordered the wrong one or they sent the wrong one or whatever the case is. Well, anyways, so essentially what you're going to want to do now is you're going to want to start popping zip ties. There's, I believe, 3 or 4 of them that GE puts on there to basically fix the wire harness, the pressure hose, and the other wire harness to that control board plastic bracket. You can see the white one there. Next, you're going to have a few screws up top. They're all Phillips. I believe 3 or 4 of them. You have to take that metal shield off. And then once you get that off, I think there's another 1 or 2 under that. Yeah, there's a little warning there. It tells you to unplug it. Then you're going to slide once you get the screws out, you're going to slide that whole plastic bracket. And essentially, you know, it looks a little bit intimidating, and it kind of is. I mean, I've done this probably 20 or so times, and it's just kind of little by little. You know, you cut the zip ties, and then you just start unplugging each connector one by one, slowly freeing it up so it can move towards you. Because what you have to do, you actually have to get that entire thing out so that you can split it in half, because the control board is basically kind of like protected and sandwiched in between those 2 plastic halves of that white bracket you can see there. You could take a picture. I typically strongly recommend you take pictures when you're dealing with control boards. However, in this one, I've done it several times, and also the connectors aren't able to go into the wrong sockets. So personally, that's why you're going to see I didn't take a picture. Also, another pro tip, what I like to do is I got those little pick tools. Sometimes you just can't get your thumb on the little clip to release the connector. So what I'll do is I'll actually get one of those little I'll get one of those little pick tools so that I can put some pressure on that and then it'll release. So just a little pro tip, because I know it's tempting to kind of like just press hard and start pulling and wiggling and jiggling, and I've actually had before where the socket for the connector will completely come off of the board. So to try to reduce that, like I said, I use those pick tools, and you can see there it's starting to come forwards more and more as I release each connector one at a time. There's another little zip tie mount there I'm taking out. I actually did release another video for this same washer where I replaced the door lock mechanism, so if you guys are interested or you need to, go ahead and watch that one. Also, a few reasons why you would want, or why you would need to replace this control board is At least for me, I've worked on this washer several times already. I found it's very common where the door lock mechanism will stop working and you'll get error codes for that. Sometimes you have to replace the control board for that. Another thing that I've seen, oh, you know what? Actually, hold on. Alright, so now you can see the control board's out. What you got to do is get your little flathead, kind of split that top part off. It just pops off. It's all just like clips. Then you're going to have 3 little tiny Phillips securing that board to the bracket. You take those out. And I'm just inspecting the board, seeing if there's any blown solder joints or anything weird or melted or anything like that. Got our new one, trying to be gentle with it. Making sure I'm putting it in the same orientation it came out in. It's pretty foolproof on some of these machines, because that board, it can only go in one way. There's like little alignment tabs, so that board can only go in. Also, pro tip, do not use an impact. Be very gentle when you're screwing those in. You don't want to strip the plastic, and you don't want to warp the board. So, you know, just snug them up, but don't torque them down too much. Alright, and now you can see I'm lining up that bracket. There's actually like a little peg and hole. You can kind of see it in the back there towards those cables on the back wall. And there's a little peg that slides into a hole that then allows that bracket to finish sliding in. Also, another pro tip, that 90 there, that little DeWalt 90 adapter, it's very helpful. As you can see, I'm using it here because this washer is on like a homemade pedestal that these people made. It's not really that easy to take out. That's one of the reasons I flipped the breaker on it, was because usually when they're on these like homemade pedestals, I just try to leave them. If I don't have to move them or anything, I just leave them, because they're not the easiest to work on once people have kind of you know, had their own unique situation as far as installation. So now you're just going to plug in each connector one by one, making sure that they're in firmly. You hear them click, or they're just in all the way. Oh, you know what? Back to what I was saying. So another reason why you would want to replace the control board that I found is the motor will stop spinning. Yeah, I know, that's right. Can you believe it? You've only had this washer 1 or 2 years. I mean, I've worked on, most of these washers that I've worked on are within 3 years, 1 to 3 years. And the control board has to be replaced on it because of something. But I've seen several times where you'll get an error code, and it indicates that the inverter board has failed, which sometimes that does fail, but I found that more often than not, you don't even have the main control board sending voltage to the inverter board. So you have to actually replace this main control board. So at least for me, from my experience, the most 2 common reasons why you would replace this control board are: 1, the door lock is not working, and 2, the motor isn't spinning. And you're going to have accompanying error codes for both of those. Alright, so now I got all the connectors plugged in. What I'm doing is I push on every connector, make sure it's seated properly. I then put on the pressure hose switch, or the pressure switch hose. And now what I'm doing is I'm getting my little zip ties, and I'm attempting to zip tie it as best as I can. So I'm zip tying the pressure hose. I'm going to zip tie the wire harness just to kind of secure it, because I think why they do that is so that when this thing is spinning, and it's really violently spinning, the wire harnesses aren't rubbing on something, causing them to break. So this repair isn't too bad. I know it can seem pretty intimidating, and let me tell you, the first time I did it, it was intimidating, but once you do it a few times, or you have somebody walking you through it like I am today, it's really not that difficult. Just you know, make sure the washer's unplugged, and take your time. Be gentle with those connectors. Use a little pick tool if you need to help you get the connectors out, and just take it slow. And if you thought that was it, well, it's not. You actually have to reprogram this board. So you're gonna see once I get this thing all back together, you have to reprogram the board. They say you have to program its personality, right? Alright, I'm just doing my last look over before I put the lid on. Everything seems to be nice and tight. Good. Yep, just put that on, slide it back, put those 3 screws back in. Now this control panel can be a little bit difficult to get back on, because you can see in the right hand corner there's like that little button screw, and essentially there's like a U shape in the corner of the control panel right there. Yep, you see that? You have to put it on at an angle and then slide it to get it all seated properly, which can be a little bit of a task. As you can see here, I'm kind of fighting with it a little bit. Yep, you put it at an angle. You also have to lift up and make sure that soap dispenser tray is properly aligned. So set your chuck, don't screw those screws in too tight, because 2 of them are just going right into that blue soap dispenser, which is plastic, and you don't want to strip those out. Alright, so with this control board, it comes with a little business card which has a number you're supposed to text on it, and you text the part number to it, and then it sends you a link to basically instructions on how to reprogram it. So you'll see that little process here. I wanted to go ahead and make sure I showed you, because some people, they might only show you how to change the control board, but they don't actually inform you like, hey, you actually have to program it, because it won't even work unless you program it. And in this sheet of instructions, it tells you based on the model number, that will determine which you do. So I told the lady to flip her breaker again. She's going to do that. Okay, so once the power comes back on, it's just going to flash until you hit the start button. And I'm just reading the instructions. I always like to read and reread multiple times. And you're just going to keep tapping that play button until you find your personality. And I'm just triple checking, making sure it's good so I don't have to reprogram it. Alright, there you go. It's programmed. We did it. So what I'm going to do now is just test and verify. It's always good to test and verify. What I like to do is put it into a rinse and spin, and that way it'll fill with water, it'll agitate, it'll drain, and it'll spin. I like to do that for my own peace of mind as well as the customers. Of course they want to make sure it's working. They don't want you to just pop the part in and leave and say, well, all right, should be good. They want a confident, yeah, it's working. At this moment, it is working. It is fixed at this moment. You know, that might change in the future, because at any moment anything can break, but at this moment it's working good. Alright everyone, well hey, thank you for watching. I hope you got something from this video. Hope it helped you. Like I said, if you needed to change your control board, that's how you do it. And if you need to change your door lock mechanism, I have another video on that. I appreciate all of you for watching. Have a great day. Later.